we just read in Perek Tes, the very disturbing story of Pilegesh Begiva. And the Jewish people say, we have to do something about this. Vayetzu kol b'nei Yisrael v'tikohel ho'edah ki'ish echad l'midan ad Be'er Sheva v'yeretz ha'gilad. All of the Jewish people assembled as if they were one person. From the people from Dan, which is the territory in the far northeast, all the way to Beersheba in the south, including the land of Gilad, which is the area of Ever HaYarden, east of the Jordan, of Ruvain, Gad, and Chatzi Shevet Menashe, and all of them gathered to the major assembly place in the middle of the country, which is called Mitzpah. Vayisyatzvu penais kol ha'am. All corners of the people gathered together. Kol shiftei Yisrael b'kal am ha'elokim, as the nation of God. Arba meyais elef ish ragli sholev charef. Again, it doesn't mean every single person of the Jewish people were there, but there were 400,000 people who were capable of using their sword, meaning soldiers. Vayishmu b'nei Binyamin ki alu b'nei Yisrael ha-mitzpah. The people of Binyamin knew they were kind of in trouble when they heard all of the Jews came to Mitzpah. And that's kind of a parenthetical note. And then, however, going back to the scene in Mitzpah, Vayomru b'nei Yisrael dabru eicha niya ra'azais. And the b'nei Yisrael said to the Levi, tell us the story exactly. V'yano ish halevi ish o isha nirtzacha. So the Levi, who was, as it were, the husband of the murdered woman, said, Vayomar, Hagivasa asher leBinyamin basi. I came to Giva in the territory of Binyamin, and Iyupilakshi lalun. I and my concubine did dwell. V'yakumu alai balei agiva, and there were people from Giva that came up against me. V'yasovu alayas abayas lai, they surrounded the house at night. Osi dimu laharag, they wanted to kill me. But instead, Baruch Hashem, pilagshi inu, they abused my pilagesh, vatamos, and she died. Va'ochez b'pilagshi, and I grabbed hold of my pilagesh's body. Va'anatcheha, and I cut it into pieces. Va'shalcheha b'chol sudei nachalas Yisrael, and I sent it throughout the inheritance of Yisrael, ki asu zima unavala b'Yisrael, because these people of Binyamin did zima, a sexually immoral behavior and disgusting behavior. Hine, now the Levi is calling to the people, kulchem b'nei Yisrael, all of you, you're b'nei Yisrael, havu lachem davar v'etza halayim, figure out a plan to bring these Rishayim to justice. Vayakam kol ha'am ki ish echad leimar. And everybody, the 400,000 people, were like ish echad, and they said, lo neilech ish li'alo, nobody will go to their tent. Lo nasor ish lebeso, nobody will go home until we figure out how to redress this avla. V'yata, and now, zeh hadavor asher naseh lagiva, this is what we will do to Giva, aleha b'gayral. We will draw lotteries as to who should go to Giva to address this problem. V'lakachnu asara anashim lameya l'chol shiftei Yisrael, meya li'elef, elef l'revava, lakachas seida la'am, lasais l'bayam l'geva binyamin. So essentially what they're saying is we have 400,000 soldiers, but 10% are going to be in the rear of the vanguard to supply food and clothing and medical treatment and the like. So we will take 10 out of 100, which is the same as 100 out of 1,000, which is the same as 1,000 per 10,000, 10%. And they will be the ones who will prepare food for the soldiers. So actually out of 400,000 people, that would be 40,000 were rear of the troops, and the remaining 360,000 would be the chayolim. Laseish l'bayim l'geva binyamin kechol hanavala asher asa b'Yisrael. Vayasef kol ish Yisrael el ir ki ish echad chaverim. So all of this huge army gathered against Giva, against Binyamin. Now you'll see, though, that initially they were not going there for war. They offered Binyamin an out. Vayishlechu shiftei Yisrael anashim b'chol shiftei Binyamin leimar. The other Shvatim sent people to circulate among the tribe of Binyamin, saying, Ma hara hazais asher niyasavachem. What type of bad thing have you done? V'yata, and now, Tenu es ha'anoshim b'nei Belial asher begiva unamisem unavara ra mi Yisrael. So really, the only request that Klal Yisrael is making of Shevet Binyamin is extradition of the wrongdoers, so they will be judged and executed for what they did. Give us the wrongdoers, so we will kill them. Now it's interesting, it's not so clear why they would be chayav misa, as disgusting as their action was. Number one, if she was a pilegesh, which means, like most Rishonim, there was no kedushin, she's not an Eishes Ish. And even if she was an Eishes Ish, where was the hasra, where was the warning? And in terms of murder, this was really a non-intentional murder. They did not intend to kill her. So although it is Ritzicha, but nevertheless it would not be a Ritzicha for which you're Chayav Misa. But still, the Meforshim say that the Chayav Misa here would be a getter of Hiraz Shah, that when a Sanhedrin sees a lawlessness, a hefkeris, an evil behavior, in order to uproot that behavior, we can put people to death, even if al pidin there would not be a Chayav Misa. So they're essentially demanding that Shevet Binyamin turn over the wrongdoers. And the pasuk says, "La'avu b'nei Binyamin lishmaya b'kalachayim b'nei Yisrael." The people of Binyamin didn't want to listen. So it's interesting. The Ramban in Chumash actually explains that this is a very political issue. That essentially Shevet Binyamin says every tribe has the right to judge its own wrongdoers, and other Shvatim don't have the right to intervene in the judicial proceeding of a tribe. It's as if to say that Bnei Binyamin maintained every tribe is like a separate country, just like you have, we share a religion, but we're a different country. Just like you have Lahavdil, French Catholics and German Catholics and American Catholics. 3 different countries, 1 religion. So Shevet Binyamin took the political position that, yeah, we all have a Torah, we all have a mitzvos, that's our religion, but we are sovereign countries, and you, Shevet Shvatim, have no right to intervene in an avla that was committed in our territory. We'll judge. Now, b'derech klal, that would be true, but apparently the Shvatim felt that Shevet Binyamin would not bring these perpetrators to justice, and therefore they're demanding that they be delivered. And Binyamin said no. So what then happened was, V'yeyosfu b'nei Binyamin min ha'arim av Givasa. So many Binyaminites from other cities came to Giva to become part of Binyamin's army. Lotzeis la milchama in b'nei Yisrael. Now we literally have a civil war. All of Klal Yisrael against Shevet Binyamin. Obviously, Shevet Binyamin is enormously outnumbered. Vayispaktu b'nei Binyamin b'yaymahu mi'arim esrim v'shisha elef ish sholef cheref levad miyashvei hagiva hispaktu shavam meyos ish bachur. So we're given the numbers here. Binyamin assembled from the surrounding cities 26,000 soldiers who could wield a sword, and from Giva itself another 700. So we have a total of 26,700 soldiers. And then it mentions another interesting fact, Mikol ha'am hazeh, and of this 26,700, there were Shva Meyos Ish Bachor Iter Yad Yaminai. 700 of them were lefties, meaning that was a very unusual condition, meaning their right hand was not that strong, and they fought with their left hand. And yet, Kol ze koleya ba'even el hasa'ara v'lo yachti. But they were so skilled that they could throw a slingshot. They could shoot the rock or the pebble of a slingshot that would split a hair. They could shoot it at a hair meaning human hair, H-A-I-R, v'lo yachti, and they wouldn't miss. Perfect aim. So, Binyamin has 26,700. How many does Bnei Yisrael have? We already said 400,000. Almost 20 times more people. V'yish Yisrael haspaktu, levad mi Binyamin, and the Jewish army, besides Binyamin, were Arba Meyais Elef Ish, 400,000, although the 40,000 were not fighters. But here it gives you the whole total. Sholef Cheref, calls that Ish Milchama. So it's 400,000 versus 26,700. V'yakumu v'yalu Beisel. So the Jewish people go to Beisel. Again, some say Beisel is Shilai, not the city of Beisel, but it's called Beisel because it's the house of God. Vayishalu be'elokim. And they ask the Kayin Gadol via the Urim v'Tumim that would light up, should they go to war or not. Vayomru b'nei Yisrael, mi yaleh lanu batchilo milchama. Which shevet should be the leader in this war, in Bnei Binyamin? Vayomer Hashem, and the Urim v'Tumim answered, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's answer, Yehuda b'tchila, Yehuda should be your leader. Okay, v'yakumu b'nei Yisrael baboker, they got up in the morning, v'yachnu ala Giva, and they encamped against Giva. Vayetze ish Yisrael milchama im Binyamin. They went out to fight against Binyamin. Again, they're vastly superior in numbers. Vayarchu itam ish Yisrael milchama el Agiva. Vayetzu b'nei Binyamin min Agiva vayashchisu b'Yisrael bayom hahu shenayim v'yesrim elef ish arza. So this was amazing. Shevet Binyamin only had, as we know, 26,700 people. The Jewish people had 400,000. But in that first day of Milchama, Shevet Binyamin was menatseach over Klal Yisrael, and they were able to kill 22,000 Yidden. A tremendous defeat for a vastly superior army. Vayischazei ka'am ish Yisrael v'yosifu larach milchama b'magash ha'orach l'sham b'yom rishon. So the second day they regrouped to fight again. And again they ask Hashem, will they be matzliach? Because apparently the first answer was not emes. Or Hashem said, go out to war, but he didn't say they would be matzliach. V'yalu b'nei Yisrael v'yipchu v'nei Hashem ado erev. They were crying, they were praying, they were doing tshuva. They were asking the Eibishter for hatzlacha. Vayishalu b'Hashem leimor, and once again they asked the Urim v'Tumim, ha'oisif lageshes l'milchama im b'nei Binyamin achi. Should I go against Binyamin, my brother, once again l'milchama? Vayomer Hashem alu elu. And Hashem didn't say you'll win, but Hashem said, fight him again. Vayikrevu b'nei Yisrael el b'nei Binyamin b'yom hasheni. So the next day, it's probably the third day, because the second day they were davening, but the second military encounter, and again, Vayetze Binyamin likrasam min Agiva b'yom hasheni, and amazingly, V'yashchisu b'vnei Yisrael od shemonas osor elef ish arza. 18,000 people were killed. So apparently there are no casualties of Binyamin. This is a miracle. Binyamin kills 26,000. Binyamin kills, look at the number, 22,000 in the first battle, and Binyamin kills 18,000 in the second battle, and Binyamin suffers no casualties at all. So now Bnei Yisrael are confused. Vayalu kol Bnei Yisrael v'chol ha'am. Vayavayu Beisel, they go back to Beisel again, which is Shilai. Vayipchu, and they cry. Vayeshvu shom b'fnei Hashem. Vayatsumu b'yomahu ad ha'erev, they fast. Vayalu olos u'shlamim, they bring burnt offerings and peace offerings. Lifnei Hashem, so Beisel means Shilai. Vayish'alu b'nei Yisrael b'Hashem, and b'nei Yisrael once again ask Hashem, which means the Urim B'Tumim. V'sham arayin b'ris aleikim b'yamim, and that is where the Aron HaKodesh was, in Shilai. Upinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron, so this is Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron. Omeid lefana b'yamim, he was serving as the Kohen Gadol. Lamar, and they asked him the question, Ha'isif aid latzeis milchama im b'nei binyamin achi imachtal, should I go to war again or should I stop? Vayomer Hashem alu. Hashem said, go wage war. But now he added something that was not added in the first two wars. The promise of victory. Ki machar, tomorrow, etnenu biyadecha, you will have victory over Binyamin. Now we have a very long description of that third and final military battle against Binyamin. Vayasem Yisrael orvim el hagiva saviv. So the first thing Bnei Yisrael did, and again you'll see why this is important, is they made ambush groups all along the outside of the Giva, meaning to say they put many, many soldiers in hidden places to ambush the Binyaminites as they come out. Vayalu Bnei Yisrael al Bnei Binyamin b'yom hashlishi, and the third encounter, they go against Binyamin in Giva. Vayarchu el hagiva kapam b'pam, and they organize their regular army. So they have the ambush that is concealed, and then they have the regular army that is marching towards Giva, as they did before. Vayetzu, so Bnei Binyamin are very confident because they had these miraculous victories twice, and they fully expect this is going to happen again. Vayetzu Bnei Binyamin likra so'am. Binyamin went out to fight the Jewish army. Hontaku min ha'ir, they removed themselves from the safety of their walled city. V'yochelu lahakais min ha'am chalalim kepam b'pam, and as always, they were initially killing the Jewish army b'masilais, on the highways, on the various roads. Achas eila Beis El, one was a highway from Giva to Beis El. V'yachas Givasa, another was a highway that led to Giva. Apparently that's where the armies were encountering each other. And they killed Shloshim Ish. Now, this was a small victory initially, but it looked like it was going to be another successful day. They initially killed, right off the bat, 30 chayalim of the Jewish army. Vayomru b'nei Binyamin, and b'nei Binyamin said, Nigafim heim lefanenu, they are smitten, they are defeated by us, kava rishona, as it was the first two times. B'nei Yisrael amru, but B'nei Yisrael, which now has the ambush strategy, and you see how that comes in, they said, Nanusa, let's run, taking them further and further and further away from their city, because they're going to pursue us, and then they will not have access to get back into the city and close up the walls. Let's pull them further and further from the city, el hamesilos, to the highways. And the pasuk says, V'chol ish Yisrael kamu mimkomo. Everybody got up from their place, vayarchu b'Baal Tamar, and they regrouped in Baal Tamar, which was a plateau or a plain that was far from Giva. Va'orev Yisrael meiniach mimkomo mima'ara Geva. And now that the whole city was empty, not totally empty, but all of the soldiers of Binyamin have left Giva. So the only people in Giva are women and children and elderly and infirm. The city itself is totally unprotected. And now we have the ambushers who were hiding in the caves around Giva. Vayavo mineged legiva aseres alofim ish bachur mikol Yisrael val milchama kaveda. And now we have 10,000, these are the ambush parties, who are surrounding Giva while the war is going on. And Binyamin is not aware that these 10,000 people are going to take charge of the city. They're going to control the city. V'heim lo yadu. The tribe of Binyamin simply does not know ki nogas aleim hara, that bad things are going to happen to them. Vayigof Hashem, just as Hashem told Bnei Yisrael, Hashem smote Binyamin lifnei Yisrael, v'yashchisu Bnei Yisrael b'Binyamin b'yomahu, esrim v'chamisha elf. Now remember, the whole army of Binyamin is 26,700, and Klal Yisrael destroyed 25,100. So there's almost nobody left. Kol eila sholef cheref. Vayiru b'nei Binyamin ki nigafu. And when the Binyaminites saw that they were decimated, they were obliterated. Vayitnu ish Yisrael makam leBinyamin. Bnei Yisrael let the few Binyaminites that were left an opportunity to run away, because when they would run towards their city, they would be captured by the ambushers, so we can let them go. Ki batchu ela oref. Bnei Yisrael were relying on the ambushers, asher samu ela giva, that were going to take charge of the city. V'ya oref hechishu. And the ambushers entered this unprotected city. Vayifshetu ela giva. They stripped and plundered Giva. Vayimshalcha oreh vayachis kol ha'ir lefi charef. So even the women and the children and the elderly were killed. V'hamoed haya leish Yisrael, and there was a prearranged signal with the regular Jewish army and the ambushers. Herev lahaleisam masas ha'ashim min ha'ir, that when the ambushers gained control of the city, they would make a smoke fire. There would be a fire with a lot of smoke, and when the regular army saw that the smoke was rising from the city, that would be a sign that the city was captured and subjugated. Vayapoch ish Yisrael ba'milchama, and the Jewish people who were running away from the Binyaminites. Now, again, in a way, this is very confusing, because this is going backwards. We already had said that the Bnei Yisrael had killed 25,100 of the Binyaminites, but now we're going backwards and giving you the details. In other words, we gave you a klal, and now we're giving you the prat. And the way the prat works was, initially the Jewish people are running away from the Binyaminites, so that the army gets further and further and further and further from the city. And then, when they see the smoke signal, that the city is now under the control of the ambushers, the Bnei Yisrael turn around. They face the Binyaminites, and now they become aggressive. So it says Binyamin had begun to smite 30 people, as we said before, but v'hamasei seichela la'alot min ha'ir amud ashan, when there was a big column of smoke coming up from the city, Vayifen Binyamin Achrav, and the Binyaminites saw that their city had been captured. And Ish Yisrael Hapach, and the Jewish people turned around to go against Binyamin aggressively. They had been running away. Vayibahel Ish Binyamin, and the people of Binyamin became very confused because they're between a rock and a hard place. The Jewish army is coming after them on one side, and on the other side they see that their city, which would have been their protection, is totally under the control of the ambushers. So where do they go? Vayifnu lifnei ish Yisrael el haderech hamidbar. So they started running towards the desert. V'hamilchama had bikaso, but the milchama reached them. V'yasher miyarim mashchisim oso betocho, and those who remained in the cities were destroyed by the ambushers. Kitru es Binyamin. Binyamin was surrounded. Hirdifua, they were pursued, menucha, meaning their rest was chased away from them. Hidrichu, they were stepped on. Ad noichach hagiva, till right towards the giva. They were running towards the giva, but there was no place to protect them, Mizrach Shemesh. And now we're giving the breakdown of how the 25,100 were killed. Initially, Yiplu mi Binyamin shmeina asar elef ish. 18,000 were killed. Anshe Chayil. Vayifnu v'yanusu midbar, and as the remaining of the army was running away to the desert, El Sela Rimon, to an area that was called the Rock of the Rimon, the Rock of the Pomegranate. It was a place. V'yalolu b'mesilos chameshes alafim ish. Another 5,000 were killed. So it's 18,000, 5,000 is 23,000. V'yadbiku acharav ad Gidon. And the Jewish army followed them all the way to the town of Gidon. V'yaku mimenu alpayim ish. So it's 18,000, 5,000, 2,000. Now, the Emes says, and then it says, Vayikol ha'noflim b'Binyamin, out of the army of 26,700, 25,000 people were killed. And they were Anshi Chayil. So Rashi points out that you're actually missing 100 people, because before we said that the total of the Harugim of Binyamin were 25,100, and here we're given a breakdown of 18,000, 5,000, 2,000, which is only 25,000. Again, most of the Rishonim say that this is lav davka, that at this point the narrative is only giving you the numbers in thousands, and you're rounding it off, but in fact it was 25,1. Now, vayifnu v'yanusu hamidbara el sela harimain sheish meyos ish. 600 people did escape, and they dwelt in Sela Rimon for 4 months. Now, again, here we have a very, very fascinating medrash, because something in the numbers don't work out. Because the total army of Binyamin, again, we're not counting the old people, the women, the children, the sick. We're talking about the military people. The total military army is 26,700. Of the 26,700, we are told that 25,100 died. So that leaves you with 1,600. And of that 1,600 that survived, 600 are hiding in Sela Rimon for 4 months. So that actually means there is 1,000 chayolim that are not accounted for. They are not listed as casualties, and they are not listed as survivors. So what happened to that 1,000? So there actually is a medrash that says 1,000 fled, and they came to the countries of Europe, France, Germany, England, according to some. And I recall reading, I don't think there's a clear makor in Chazal, lahavdil, that the British royal house traces some of its yichus to the chelek of Shevet Binyamin that came to Europe. And that emerges from the fact that there's 1,000 that is not accounted for by the cheshbon of the Navi. And we really are told nothing in the text about that 1,000. But we do have these 600 people that are hiding, and apparently they're able to protect themselves. V'ish Yisrael shavu al b'nei Binyamin. They returned to the other cities of Binyamin, because all the people that were not combatants, Vayakam lefi chorev me'ir mesom ad behema ad kol nimtza. They killed everybody. Again, halachically, it's not so clear what the justification is, but they felt they have to get rid of the Ra. Gam kol ha'arim animtzo shilchu b'yesh. They burnt down the cities. And this is the aftermath of the awesome war. Shevet Binyamin killed tens of thousands of Jews, and Am Yisrael killed in Shevet Binyamin, in which there is literally only 600 men left in Shevet Binyamin. And now we're going to see there's yet another issue in terms of who will marry these 600 men.